For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the issue of corruption within the ANC. Welcome, Professor. You now refer to the ANC being more than a political factor in people's lives, but a cultural presence. Do you think that this is still a factor?
Yeah, in that article, what I said is that the ANC lived in people's homes. People, even in the days of banning, they saw themselves as being ANC. Not everyone, but many families used to pray for the people on Robben Island, all these things. And I think some of that spirit of loyalty to the ANC, we must expect that it still remains, because when you got involved in the struggle before 1990, you were involved in a very dangerous activity. And the people with whom you worked together were comrades in the real meaning of the word. You shared dangers together. You shared what was sometimes very limited supplies for food, things like that. If you see the type of food that people had to eat in the camps, they had very, very hard existence. It was no pleasure trip to be in MK. And people who've been together through these difficult times, they have these bonds. And I think a lot of these people are unwilling, even if there is corruption, they're unwilling to give up on the ANC. They say, if you are a cadre, it's your job to fix it up, not to leave the organization. You must stay in the organization and you must use your experience, show the young people what you want, and remedy these problems.
As someone who is no longer involved now in the ANC, do you regret your involvement?
No, I don't regret my involvement, because when I got involved in what I believed was a just cause, and I admired some of the heroes and heroines of the struggle, people like Brown Fisher, Walter Sisulu, Mandela, Tambo, etc. And I did what I thought was right, and I had some level of innocence, in the sense that I worked on my own in the beginning, and I didn't really see anything other than pure revolutionaries involved. And when I later heard allegations of torture in Quattro camp and abuse of women, I just dismissed these things, because the people who said this were antagonistic to the liberation struggle. So I didn't believe them, and I didn't know that the allegations about Quattro had some substance. With regard to allegations of abuse of women, it's like corruption. Not everyone abused women. In fact, some very famous people, like Chris Hani, took steps to stop abuse. And he introduced a regulation which prevented senior people from having relationships with young recruits. They had to first get a chance to settle in, to know what was going on before they had relationships. It wasn't allowed. So the power of office was not allowed to influence relationships. I also think that, when I wrote the article, I said the ANC, which has previously been associated with heroism, is now linked with sleaze and crime. But if you say that, that doesn't mean that there wasn't heroism. And people are still very, very moved by the heroism of some people who are not widely known. For example, Vincent Chabalala in Alex in the 80s, he on his own held up the police for hours till he was killed. Block by block, house by house, street by street. And the other day in the social media there was a discussion about Anton Franch and what they call the Battle of Athlone. He knew they were coming for him. He didn't just think about fighting. He first made sure that the people who had been sheltering him had got off to safety. He then fought them for hours, just one person. And people say they blew him up with a hand grenade and his skin was stuck to the walls. Now this heroism, some academics talk about liberation mythology, a grand narrative, but there were real heroes. Many of these real heroes and heroines are not recorded, and they need to be recorded, and they need to be honored, and it's completely justified to honor them. And I think that we are doing a disservice to the history of our country if we don't understand that when some scholars talk about a so-called struggle and things like this, that they're upsetting people in these communities who honor, at the moment they're honoring Chabalala in Alex, and in the Western Cape they're going to have a commemoration for the Battle of Athlone. It was particularly significant in the Western Cape to have had this heroic stand by Anton Franch. And I think these and others need to be remembered, because the ANC, whatever criticisms I have, I think the history is complex, but it also is a history of which I'm proud to have been a part, although I regret that some things that are happening now negate many of those features that helped make democratic development possible today.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about corruption within the ANC. Thank you, Professor.